Hello and welcome to From Agenda to Action, the City of Ames podcast that gives you a quick preview of what's coming up at the Ames City Council. I'm Bill Gebhart with Communications and Outreach. Council meets twice a month, and ahead of each meeting, we take a few minutes to highlight some of the items you might want to keep an eye on. Today, we're looking ahead to Tuesday, April 28th's meeting at 6 p.m. here at City Hall, which is 515 Clark Avenue. While we won't cover the full agenda, we'll walk through a few of the key topics. Joining me is Councilmember Anita Rollins, who's standing in for Mayor Haila. Anita, glad to have you here.
So glad to be here. Thanks.
So as I'm looking at this agenda for April 28th, there's a few things that stick out to me. And the first is there's some proclamations.
Yes, two more proclamations. This has been a month with a number of proclamations. And so we'll be looking at one related to Arbor Day and then one related to the National Historic Preservation Month, which will be in May. But at the same time, we will then move on to a presentation of the Historic Preservation Awards. So another exciting time for us to recognize what is being done in our city related to our interest in seeing that we are preserving those historical buildings and staying consistent where we can.
And like you said, April seems to be Proclamation Month or something like that, so we have quite a bit. And so that one actually follows a pattern that we had at our last meeting too, where we had the Fair Housing Proclamation, which was followed by a Home for Everyone Award. So this is kind of the same thing, but with historic preservation.
Absolutely.
Well, that'll be exciting to be there for those proclamations, but also to hear the announcement of the winners.
Yes.
So what else are you seeing on the agenda?
Well, this time we have 31 items on the consent agenda, and which isn't unusual, but I did just want to note from that a couple of community events that I think we have come to look forward to within the city are requesting the use of facilities and are going to be approved, I would imagine, as part of our consent agenda. One is Ames on the Half Shell, which is hosted by the Ames JCs. Their lineup of events and bands are coming out, and so I hope that all goes well for them with those events. And then Pride Fest, October 10th, and Ames Pride has their request in for their event on October 10th.
And so, like you mentioned, these happen on consent agenda, so there may not be a lot of talking about this at the council meeting unless a council member would want to pull this off the agenda to talk about it more.
Right.
But it's highly possible that this will just be a vote yes, and continue on with the meeting.
Continue on. That's how the consent.
So it's nice that you highlighted it here, so that way other people know these things. These great community events are coming along too. So okay, so those two things are happening in consent, along with 30, 31, or 29. I can't do math right now, but along with those other things.
Yeah.
What about the rest of the agenda? Are we going to want to draw attention to?
So our agenda actually happens to be a little shorter this time.
Yeah.
But there are 4 items coming to us from planning and housing.
Okay.
And so a couple of those I'd like to highlight. Number 36, at least right now on the agenda, has to do with the Baker subdivision. And this is an area that we've been very excited about, creating some additional affordable housing within the city. And we have used a lot of our federal funding in order to make this happen. We are now at that final phase. The townhomes at Creekside have been completed. There are 8 Habitat for Humanity homes out there. Now we're looking at the single family market rate lots. And so this is coming forward with a proposal for the purchase of those and setting a date of hearing for approval of a purchase agreement for the sale of the 6 properties that will come up this year.
And so then, as you said, this is sort of the final stage to really finishing this project. I mean, after the building and all of that part is finished, but then that neighborhood will actually become that neighborhood.
Yes.
That's so pretty exciting. That's pretty, I'm sure our housing coordinator, Vanessa Baker-Latimer, will be very excited to see this one done too.
I am sure. I think she is,
Yeah, I can just see her sitting next to you right now saying, let's go. Let's get
this done. Yes.
Okay, and you said there was another one on planning and housing that we wanted to talk about?
Yes. So what is now item number 38, the report on South Campus redirection areas. So the council has an interest in infill. And this was one of the areas that we asked Planning and Housing to take a look at, specifically the area around Knapp, Hunt, and Hayward, just south of Lincoln Way, to do some outreach and study. And eventually what we'd like to consider is whether any updating to zoning should be encouraged. That area has around 56 properties currently, and we're looking forward to hearing more so that we can see what we can do in that area.
And so for people that may not be familiar, infill just means that we want to create more housing without necessarily pushing the boundaries of Ames out.
Right. That offers us some opportunities for efficiency, but also some sustainability in terms of being able to have people close for getting to doctors or grocery stores.
Absolutely.
Or transportation. So it has a lot of benefits, and yes.
And then so this item on the agenda then is to really hear about that report to see if a change in zoning in that area would then allow for more residences to be built.
Right.
Be built or created or however that would happen.
Yeah. Updating or whatever we might do there to encourage more public housing for residents and for students or whoever might want to be in that area, to make sure that we're fully taking advantage of that area.
And this is something that council will request quite often, actually, right? That study or that research on zoning, on traffic, on all sorts of things.
Right. Yeah, we always want to look at not only what's best for the city, but sometimes that also means trying to look at what are the barriers we might be creating to keeping that good work from being done. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And you can't just do something or you don't want to just do something and be like, oh, we should have done it this way, or we didn't realize that this would happen if we did this. And you want to look at all those ahead of time.
Right. As much as we can.
That makes sense.
Absolutely.
So I was looking through the agenda and I was noticing on ordinances we talked about this a lot last time, but item 41 right now, the first reading of the change to water rates and sewer rates.
Yes. And so, yes, we have spent some time talking about that, in part so that our city residents understand that this is coming up. But yes, that is now coming for first reading, that increase in water rates to 3.5% and the increase in sanitary sewer rates by 5.5%. And so things are moving along.
Yeah. And so we did talk about this a lot last time, and you talked about it with Susan on the recap podcast. But what this means is last time it was the hearing where you guys were getting all that basic information. This is the first reading, which is open for public comment still.
Yes.
And then after that, it has to have 2 more readings before it can be written into code that way.
Yes, that is the process.
Okay.
Great job.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm learning. As we're doing this, I'm learning too. So definitely if people want to give their input on it, this would be the time to do that.
Yes.
We don't really take public input on second and third readings unless there's major changes. Is that the way that works?
That is the way that works.
Okay.
Yes.
So people still can weigh in on this one at this meeting.
Absolutely. We invite you to do that.
Okay. Well, it's a very short agenda, like you said. I mean, compared to some that we've seen even recently. So that is just a preview of the 44 agenda items that are on this current agenda. So I do want everyone to remember that we're working with the agenda as it stands right now, and it may be amended up to 24 hours before the meeting. So you can always find the most up-to-date version at cityofames.org/citycouncil. And if you're coming to that meeting on Tuesday, you might want to make sure that you have the most recent one. The meeting again is Tuesday, April 28th at 6 p.m. in the City Hall Council Chambers at 515 Clark Avenue. And we like everyone to be there. Councilmember Rollins, thank you so much for being here and for walking us through this agenda.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. And everyone else out there, thanks for listening. And we'll see you after the meeting with Susan Guiazza as we recap what happened.
From Agenda to Action is a City of Ames podcast.